what I will often do is I'll go to social media and basically gauge reactions and almost use it to crowdsource. I did that. I did that last week. I put out, I wanted to write a list about something, and I put out a list on my Facebook and said, "Does anybody have anything to add to this?"
Right.
Had like 100 responses. Use that to make that list and message even better, and then put that out on Instagram.
This is the online trainer show, trainer show, trainer show. This is the online trainer show. We shouldn't have a podcast. I got an iPhone. I bought a bargain basement iPhone. I'm still an Android guy. I'm not crossing over. This isn't real. But I only got it for that freaking app Clubhouse.
Right. I have no idea what that is, and
it's freaking amazing. It's
really?
Amazing. Yes, it's very, very good. It's a very, very good application because it's audio only, so it's all conversation. There's no pictures, no video, no none of that. You go into a room, think about it like a live session, but it's just audio, and the person controlling the live session can control who can speak. So you bring them up onto a stage, and just it's a live podcast that's interactive, that's audio only, that has no pictures, no other than your little profile avatar. There's no calls to action in the app, so it automatically, when you sign up, you link your Twitter and you link your Instagram. And for people to DM you or anything like that, they have to go out to your Instagram or out to your Twitter. But it's all conversational, so. I've been in. It's right up Jonathan's alley, and in 2 years he'll do it, but he won't do it today.
There's so little about this that interests me.
It's because you haven't experienced it. I promise you. I promise you. It's literally what we're doing now.
What we're doing now is great for a maximum of 2 hours a week.
Right. You don't.
I do not want to do this with anybody ever outside of what we're doing now. And I sometimes question even doing this with you guys.
Oh my gosh.
You would miss us. Stop it. We know.
Jonathan, you're even more Jonathan today than the last time I saw you.
Yeah, that's because I'm not sick anymore. There is absolutely nothing about whatever that Clubhouse thing that interests me. Parlor. Now, I love me some conspiracy theory.
Oh my God.
How to get on there.
God, no. Oh God, don't get me started.
Once again, you've ruined the conversation, Jonathan. Thank you. Thank you. Gosh. Oh,
that's a good Eddie Caro thing.
Yeah, right. You did a thing, Jonathan. But there are conspiracy theory rooms in the Clubhouse. People sit there and they talk about their conspiracy theories all the time. I happily avoid that. But in any case, just know that I'm on Clubhouse and I'm pushing OTA. I've got a meeting with 5 coaches today, a Zoom meeting I'm going to do after this to talk to them about OTA and how to get enrolled in it and involved in it because they know nothing about online training. So there you go. There's a segue there. There's not the kind you ride.
I immediately rescind everything negative I said.
Oh no! I don't like Clubhouse. I'm not messing with no Clubhouse. Clubhouse silly. It's silly for the children, and I don't mess with the children like that. Oh, you little kids playing on your little Clubhouse, but now, Mr. Jonathan, all of a sudden you're interested. No, forget about it. I'm sending them to the NASM, the NSM online program, where they teach you how to operate Zoom. Like, from what I understand, there's only 3 paragraphs. Right. There's only 3 paragraphs in their cert for online, and 2 of the paragraphs are about how to turn on your Zoom camera. Thank you, NASM. In any case. It's a new year, guys. Like, I missed you guys. Amber, did you miss us?
I missed you too.
Yeah, Jonathan. That's why I didn't ask you. I know your feelings on the matter, sir. But Keto, I missed you, and Amber, I missed you, and Jonathan, I've seen you in places, so that's good, I guess. So is it okay to check in with Keto because it was a whole year's passed since we've had time with our in the field correspondent, Catalina
That's
Belmontes,
right. Haven't seen you
aka
since
Petty
last year.
Keto, uh,
Take care.
aka Taco Queen. So what's up? What's up with you, Keto? What's going on?
Well, New Year, same pettiness. I don't know.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you, Keto. The internet seems to be working. You still got that fresh hot. Now, are you? You're not there at the moment, are? Oh yeah, you are, because I see the peacocks or flowers or whatever it is, the golden flowers behind you on the teal
Yes,
wall.
we're home because we're back on lockdown. So
Oh, okay.
that's the thing. Yeah.
Oh really? So Canada's locked down again?
Well, our part is Ontario,
Oh,
yes.
just Barry.
No, Ontario, like the province,
Oh,
which
okay.
is
All right.
yeah.
I thought you meant your house specifically initially, so I wanted to get a good
I mean,
idea.
it would be awesome if we could like lock down, but like leave the
Right.
kids outside.
Right.
Then that would.
Right. In my mind, I'm imagining like caution tape wrapped around your home only. You guys not being allowed to leave, both for the protection of Barry and for the protection of the mayor. But I guess.
Nope, no, we're here. We're just all stuck together at home.
Okay. So Jonathan, any lockdowns in Mexico that you just?
God, no.
Oh my God, the exact opposite. If you picture social distancing responsibly, imagine the exact opposite of that, and that's where I am. It is so. Here, this is how I'll define it. Puerto Vallarta is 45 minutes north of here, where I live. And Puerto Vallarta they didn't lock down, but they put in a lot of restrictions over New Year's and the Christmas holidays. Like bars couldn't be open past 7 p.m., stuff like that. So everybody who went to Puerto Vallarta to party just came to Sayulita because Sayulita had no restrictions. So we had like thousands and thousands and thousands of people just like streaming into town. And it seems to be commonplace to wear a mask here underneath your nose. Like, I feel like that's how they're taught. So even the stores that are like, oh, like 3 places in town that say you have to wear a mask, the employees are wearing the mask wrong. It's just, so, I mean, we're distancing our, it's quieter now that the New Year's is over. Basically, everybody goes back to Guadalajara, to wherever. There's a lot of Mexican tourism where I am. And so the Mexicans basically go back to the big towns that they're from, generally. Gotcha. And so it's quieter now. But the last 2 weeks, man, particularly the last week, holy crap, it was busy. And we just kept to ourselves. We didn't go in. We stayed on the far end of the beach. We paid a little bit extra to be in like a roped off area one day on the beach that was distanced, that type of thing. But yeah, the literal exact opposite of lockdown is what's going on here.
I believe it.
Yeah, right. I was about to say, this is very consistent.
Like, this is actually where people come to. This is actually where people come to that are escaping quarantine and lockdown. Like, they come to this town. And I'm not in that camp. You know, I like I said, we keep to ourselves, and we really quarantine. Like, the reason that I go to the gym when it first opens at 7 a.m. is because that's when it's empty, and I'm out of there before it gets busy. That's the reason why I work out first thing in the morning. It's not because I want to.
This is so interesting. I think this is called a juxtaposition. You have the Canadian who believes in most of it now in Mexico. We have the Mexican in Canada on lockdown. Like, there's some universal message here that we need to tune into. Like, something's going on with that.
Jonathan is the yin to my yang. That's what I'm getting from this.
Pretty much. That's so true. It's like you guys are. I don't know if you remember Super Friends, because that was in the 80s. But they had these Wonder Twins, and they used to touch hands and they used to say, "Wonder Twin powers activate." And one of them was always real lame. Like, the boy was real lame. I think his name was Zan or Jace. So Zan could only turn into something regarding water, which was super lame. And I didn't pick up on this until I was an adult. Now the girl twin, Jace or whatever her name, because they were alien twins, they look like Spock. Both of them look like Spock. So the girl twin, she could turn into like animals, which was like super cool, right? The guy could only turn into water. So she'd be like so a house would be on fire, and she'd be like, shape of a bald eagle. And he'd be like, form of a bucket of water. And then she'd drop him. I'm not making this up. He'd like drop him onto the fiery, to put out the fire at the house. That's what John and Carol are like. Because Carol's like wild, and Jonathan's like this cool sense of calm. Like, if you guys were dying of heat in the desert, like Keto would be like shape of a camel, and John would be like form of an ice cold glass of lemonade, to save the day. You guys really are yin and yang. That's a good observation, Keto. I've never picked up on that. Yeah. So Wonder Twin powers activate. You guys, I'm gonna start sending you guys some YouTubes of the Wonder Twins and their adventures on Super.
I feel like we're gonna get art. We're gonna get fan art on this.
Yeah. You're Keto. You're so brilliant. This is Keto. This is why you're here.
No, Amber. If you get this for us, I will make it my profile picture on Facebook. I swear, I will make it my profile picture.
This is the exact reason that Carol is here sometimes, for insight like this. 20% of the time you're here, and when you do, I swear you give us 80% of the skills. And there's math there that I don't understand.
I'm really excited for the moment that Amber or that Carolina makes this her profile picture and tags me in it. So I get a notification on Facebook that says, "Do you want to allow this on your profile?" And I'm just going to click no and not say anything about
it. He's not even going to.
You know what? He's like form of rain, because he's like raining on my parade right now.
Hey, the body is like 80% water, so he can form a human brain. But his powers are severely restricted. It's the lamest set of powers in all of comic books. That there's an alien person that immigrated to Earth and can only turn into one of our natural resources, water. That's all he can do. Like, bro, did they have water in your planet? That's all he can do. That's all he can do. You guys need Superman. You need some ice cubes. Batman, you good? Want a drink of water? Like, that's all he's got. That's the extent of his power. And he has to connect with his sister in order to be able to do it. So if she's not in the room, nothing happens. He's just a guy in a tight suit. Yeah. He's a guy in a unitard.
You're not even autonomous. You need the Carol. Go.
Yeah. I mean, if not for Keto, Jonathan, PTDC would have been ended. It would have ended a long time ago. Let's go ahead. Let's call it. Let's call it what it is.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So thank you, Keto. You earn the right to be here 20% of the time. And I'm being real lenient with the 20. It's probably more like a 17.5 or something like that. But we appreciate it every time you're here. So are we going to talk about stuff like this year, or do we talk about stuff again? Because we can just keep doing this. I'm fine with it. Yeah, I don't mind. Okay, Amber said we got to talk about stuff. Jonathan, I know this is your favorite subject, content on social media. I can feel how much you're going to chime in here. You tell us about TikTok. Jonathan's going to drop the TikTok information during this content creation, because I've seen him all over the talk, as he calls it. Like, hey, Ren, were you on the talk last night? And I'm like, nah, man, you got to get on the talk, bro. Get on the talk, bro. Ren, you're not on the talk? You on the talk, bro?
Spencer, you guys know Spencer Nadolski. He sent me a Facebook message. Like, hey man, what do you think of TikTok?
Oh my God. Has he not ever?
That was an F no for me.
Dr. Nadolski's obviously never met you in person or listened to anything that you've ever said in life to ask you that question. I'm shocked by that. Yeah. He would do well on it. I have no idea why he asked you. I have no idea on earth why he posed that question to you, Jonathan. You're barely on Instagram.
He'd probably do well on it, so I gave him bad advice. I told him not to. Yeah, I told him not to be on it.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yes, I was really happy when you guys picked this topic because I figured that I'd have nothing to add and I wouldn't have to do anything, and so you guys could kind of run the podcast episode. So that's cool. Yeah, go ahead.
Way to come back to work with a full head of steam, Jonathan. You're the best.
Amazing.
Yeah, we need you so. You're not perpetuating that Wonder Twins analogy I said earlier at all right now, right, sir? You know, you're totally changing my mind on that. So we like to find topics that we think the community wants to hear about. You know, we've got our finger on the pulse, I think, of training, and sometimes Amber will say, "Hey, you guys, anything going on? What's the word?" Amber will literally say this to me: "Yo, Ren, are the streets talking? What are the streets saying, son?" That's how she communicates. You know, it's exactly what she says every time. Yo, what are the streets saying, son? And I'm like, you know, streets are talking about content, yo. Like,
I don't think I could do that if I tried.
this is exactly what you say, Amber. We're all friends here. We can share. And Amber will say, yeah, this is how Amber talks. This is how Amber talks. When you guys aren't around, this is how she talks. And she's like,
she keeps calling me dog. I don't know why.
Right.
I'm not. I'm a man.
Right. Yo, dog. What's up with them OTA students, son?
Yeah.
You know, she's got the hat on to prove it today. I'm not the only hatted person here on the podcast. Amber's got some street cred. So there you go. And now it's back. So it's official now. She's finally let her real persona shine through. So what we figured out was that we've had a lot of questions about sort of content creation because let's face it. So you guys will hear this after the new year has probably transpired. It'll be deep into January, if not early February. I don't know how days and weeks work anymore because I've been on break. So, but I know it won't happen the day we're recording it. So it'll be later on. Let's just set it. But in any case, you guys see the mad dash for content creation in our industry is on. Like anybody who had money to spend on an ad is spending it right now. You've seen every ad within 2 or 3 thumb scrolls on Instagram or Facebook this week because it's just a mad dash to take advantage of the whole new year, new me thing. So the questions that I've been getting from coaches was, you know, number one, how do you produce so much content? Number two, how do you figure out what the content is going to be? And then number three, sort of where does your content go? Like, where do you want to put it? So whether you love the internet or not, these are solid questions to ask, you know, to answer, you know, where's the productivity in your content? How do you stay productive? You know, what do you say and where do you put it? So I think I think Jonathan can safely, you know, jump in on this topic. I know Carol can. She's a content queen in addition to being a taco queen. She has queendom in two different, she's got dual queendom citizenship, tacos and content. So we're going to dive in. And I guess the first place to start is sort of with the productivity. Like, how do you create the content? Like, how do you make sure that you have content to post? So anybody want to jump in and speak? That Carol's got her hand up. Carol, take it away. Give us some insight here. Give us the insight that we can only get 17.65% of the time on this podcast.
And can I just say that I love the initiative?
Right. I am
loving the initiative.
This is a new, you know, Carol that we're dealing with. This,
wow.
You know, this is an intentional
Carol.
This is
the new year, new Carol.
It really is. Go take it away, Carol.
What works for me is I need to be like in a headspace of creating content. Like sometimes it happens that something relevant occurs in the moment and it just sparks an idea and I can do it kind of like, you know, out of my sleeve, like on the cuff and whatever. But if I'm trying to create content that is more kind of like cohesive and that comes together for a purpose. For example, if I'm leading up to launching a program or something like that, I want it to look a certain way. I want it to have a certain feel. And so I use it very much as I would any other kind of appointment in my calendar, in my book. So for me, nighttime after my kids are gone to bed and my house is quiet, that is prime time for me for writing that kind of stuff, because then I'm not interrupted. Interruptions kill me. They kill my creativity. I can't function if I have people consistently asking me for a snack or, for a show or what, like, right? So parents are gonna kind of like hear me on that. And so yeah, and so I just sit and I create, like, and for an hour that nothing else gets done except that, my images, the quotes, an idea of what the caption is going to sound like, calls
I
to
I
action.
was going to ask you, what are you creating?
Yeah,
Like, what
so
are the
I go.
pieces that you're pulling together?
So, for example, for me, because I recently had a professional photo shoot done, because I wanted to refresh kind of like my image. So now I'm using pictures from my professional photo shoot, and I'm finding quotes. They don't have to be mine. I don't have to reinvent the wheel. So many wonderful things have already been said by a lot of very smart people regarding change, regarding habits, regarding discipline, regarding all these things that are important to us and that are probably going to resonate with your clients, because that's the mind frame of a client who wants to step into a program, right? They're thinking about change. They're thinking about, this is the time. If not now, when? So when you start repeating that to them, you start tapping into what's already in the back of their head, and add it with the fact that it's my face with the quotes. It's like, it's me, right? Like, so they're attaching me to those messages. And I find that helpful. It makes me more personable, I guess, also to them. They feel like they know me.
That's awesome. I've got a follow up question, and I think I'll ask Amber the same questions. And Jonathan, you can interject here. I won't ask you any direct questions, nor will I look you directly in the eye during this podcast. But for you,
I mean, which is funny because, like, I've created a bit of content online.
You have
created a little bit.
You've done it. You've done it. Over time.
Like, just a little bit. That's been seen by just
A couple
a few
million,
people,
no
right?
big deal.
And I'm so self-loathing over it.
Your accidental 20,000 followers on Instagram. I mean, no big deal. Just sort of backed into that pit of despair.
It's such a pit of despair. But anyway, yeah, I'll offer insight when I can.
All right. You could have saved us 3 minutes on that. You could have saved us 3 minutes on that.
Hey, Jonathan Goodman here. This podcast is made possible thanks to people like you. Here's a quick word from our sponsors. Are you still trying to pick your online training software? If so, let me make this easy for you. Go with PT Distinction. It's truly the best, and I'm not just saying that because they're our sponsor. We actually use PT Distinction for our own online fitness business, online trainer coaching, and we're really happy with it. From onboarding to programming to client communication, PT Distinction has everything you need to run your online fitness business smoothly, and it's super simple to use. Now, normally they offer a free 30-day trial, but as a listener of the Online Trainer Show, you get a free 60-day trial, so you can make sure you love them before spending a dime. If you want to deliver first-class service to your clients while reclaiming your time, then visit onlinetrainer.com/PTD to sign up for your free 60-day trial today. If you're a fitness nutrition coach that's looking to master online coaching so that you can help more people, make more money, and have more freedom, then the Online Trainer Academy can help. OTA gives you the framework, knowledge, and support to have predictable success with your online coaching business. From marketing to business development to how to assess and motivate your clients online, it is constantly updated and refreshed to keep up with a dynamic market. Not only that, OTA is proven. In 7 years, we've helped over 30,000 coaches in 87 countries go online. Truth is, we know what works, so you can get right to the success part. And in case you're busy working a full-time job or you're a full-time parent, know that you can go at your own pace. There's no deadlines to complete OTA, and you have lifetime access. That said, if you are ready to make a rapid change and finish the course in the next 8 to 12 weeks, you can expect to invest 3 to 5 hours each week on the program. And here's the best part. If you join today, you will make an extra $1,000 a month in 90 days, or I'll give you your money back. So if you're ready to build the fitness business you want and make the money you deserve, go to onlinetrainer.com/academy to enroll today. And I hope to see you in there.
In any case, so Keto, my follow-up question to you would be, where do you place your content? What are the right places for you and why? Because I think that's important.
I double up on Instagram and Facebook, because even though a lot of followers overlap, I do have a lot of people who are just on my Instagram and a lot of people who are just on Facebook. So I double up, I send to both, and I do get clients from both platforms. So for me, it is worth it because my target audience is on both of those platforms.
Yeah.
And so I do get response on both.
There we go. That's sort of what I was leaning into. You want to go where your target is, like, and be and and be okay with your target migrating, because a lot of times, we won't accept the fact that our target has migrated. It happened from MySpace to Facebook, from Facebook to Instagram, from Instagram to what was the Snapchat thing. Like, your clientele is probably going to migrate. The most unusual migration that I've ever seen on social media was TikTok. And that was sort of conditional because the pandemic happened. All of a sudden, moms are in the house with their kids all day, and they ended up doing TikTok dance videos. And I think that was much more conditional than what the normal sort of evolution of social media is through demographics. But that was a big one. Like, that was, if you're coaching, let me tell you this, if you're coaching moms or, Gen X even, they're on TikTok. I'm just going to tell you, you don't have to do TikTok, but I don't want the reason that you don't do it to be because, oh, that's for kids. Now, there's probably more moms on there now than there are kids, to be perfectly honest with you. But I wanted to get that point from you, Carol, because that's a good point. You know to go where your clientele is. And you said you've been able to convert from both places, correct?
Yes, correct. That's right.
And why do you think you're able to convert in both places? What's your, like, is it because you maintain a call to action, or what's your thought?
I'm actually really bad at calls to action. I forget to include them, and that's like, you will actually find me sometimes on a regular Facebook post. Like, I'll do the post, and then the next time it comes up in your feed, it probably says something slightly different because I'm like, oh crap, I go back and I edit it or I add stuff, and that's okay because that's, for me, it's still imperfect action. Sometimes I just need to get stuff out. And once it's out, you almost like get a vibe, like it's, I don't know, like some kind of feedback that tells you like, wait, I think you need to add this part that or whatever. And then you kind of adjust and then you start. So that happened like yesterday, I launched a new program. And so I put the initial post and, everybody's worst fear, it's like crickets. Right? Like, there's not a lot of going on, and that's everyone's worst fear. So for me, like, I'm already used to that fear because it's happened before. It's going to happen again. It's totally fine.
Right.
So I just went back and I edited and I got a lot more clear about and then the response started rolling in. I started getting DMs. I started engaging in conversations. I have a few signups, all of this, but it's okay. Like, don't stop yourself from putting stuff out there just because you don't think it's perfect. It's fine. You can always go back and edit as you need in the moment.
Right. So, Jonathan, things.
So perhaps the best, I wanna add something there because I think perhaps the best use of social media in a lot of cases is to test material and is to test messaging. I will often, if I'm writing an article or producing a piece of content, even building a product. And I say building a product, I mean, product could be like, a product could be a new aspect of something we already do. Product could be a new service. Like, I'm just using product in a general sense. And if I'm trying to build it, what I will often do is I'll go to social media and basically gauge reactions, and almost use it to crowdsource. I did that last week. I put out, I wanted to write a list about something, and I put out a list on my Facebook and said, does anybody have anything to add to this?
Right.
Had like 100 responses. Use that to make that list and message even better, and then put that out on Instagram.
Right.
So, I mean, that's just like a very minor thing, because I knew that piece of content was actually like an Instagram piece of content. It wasn't really suited for Facebook. But it's a really great way to crowdsource ideas. If you have kind of the seed of an idea, but you're not quite sure what it is, you can let your community develop.
Right.
Which is really powerful. So don't feel like your content needs to like be you from this precipice, like delivering wisdom down on the legions of minions. The they probably know more about themselves than you know about
What
them. And they'll tell you everything you need to know
They'll tell you what
if
they
you ask
want.
and put it out there and learn
That's
how to
true.
listen.
Jonathan, that sounds
Yeah.
dangerously close to being empathetic. I don't know what you're drinking down there in Mexico, but I'm having high levels of concern for you.
You know what's funny? Gouch, our acting general manager, was funny. He was like, you keep talking about how you're terrible at process and all this kind of stuff. He's like, you're really, really good at it, actually. I was like, no. I never said I was terrible at process. I'm actually really, really good at strategy and process because my primary driver is laziness. And so I've become so good at developing process because that allows me to give something to somebody else to do it for me.
Right.
And it all comes back to laziness, right?
Hey, it works.
So it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's really hard work to try to figure out what people
Right.
want. I'd rather just figure out a way to get them to tell me. It seems a lot easier that way, and I can just kind of chill out reading a book for most of the time,
So actually asking people what they like, and then build things off of that. So Jonathan make an interesting point here about content creation, though, because you spoke eloquently, by the way, about using social media to sort of gather information. And in the process of gathering information, guess what you accidentally do? You create content that gets people to reply, that pushes the algorithm right, gets people to interact with your content, which also pushes the algorithm. You get insight from other people, you get to reply to them. So all of those things are great ways to produce content. Like Jonathan said, when you're not producing informative, entertaining content, you can use social media to gather information, which is still it's probably high up on the engagement list for these various social media platforms, because you're going to be interacting in the comments with other people. They're probably going to share stuff, so I'll tell you guys is it okay for me to share what I do on social media, how I create content?
Or you're amazing at it, Red. Go, preach.
Jonathan's got some opinions.
I guess.
All right, thank you, Jonathan.
guess.
I appreciate it.
Well, you're supposed to be the guy who asked us questions on this pod.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So this is our process on the podcast. This is how we deliver the amazing shows to you that you've come to enjoy so much. We whine at each other on the podcast and we record it, and then Amber makes it sound like it's supposed to be there. So my content process it starts from me not wanting to miss an idea. And this started for me when I was doing music and I was writing lyrics, right? Because the worst thing is to have the best idea and 3 minutes late, you're sure you're going to remember it. No way you're going to forget it. You look into your refrigerator, you close the refrigerator door, and you have no idea what you were thinking about a minute and a half ago. So I hate that feeling. So I keep a little pad with me pretty much at all times. A little pad on the nightstand, a little pad in my living room near the PlayStation. One in the kitchen, and when an idea comes to me, I just have to capture it quickly, because my content creation happens a little bit differently. So I can keep a notebook full of ideas, and then I can block out a time like Carol does. Carol blocks out her hour to create her content. I do it the same way. I block out my time, but in that time, I'm able to go back to the previous thoughts. So I'm not creating necessarily when I'm putting together the content. I try to batch produce it. I'm just going through the notebook of all the ideas that I've accumulated during the course of the day or the week. Typically, I do content on Sundays, and I'll batch produce it. If I'm going to do a video, I'll record it, switch my shirt, turn my hat forward, or something like that. Really trick the consumer, I'm like a content ninja. By the time you see me, it's too late. You're already dead. But so I batch shoot videos. I'll batch create, my little memes and whatever. My card, my infographic cards. If I'm going to do that, well, they're more like a typographic. Little cards with sayings and on stuff on it, and any sort of carousel posts. And I set aside that time to only batch produce the content, so I don't have to think about it while I don't necessarily like to think about it while I do it. I don't mind, but I know that I'm much more efficient. And one of the things that I see that people struggle with is sort of what to say. So number one, capture what you're going through during the course of the week. Like, look, if you're in this business, somebody's asking you a question today. I mean, it is what it is. Like if you're a coach and people know that you do any nutrition or any training, somebody's probably going to ask you a question today. Just write it down. Write down what the question is. If you know the information, you don't have to remember the answer because it's probably going to be the same answer every time. There's another resource. I think it's called askthepeople.com. Is that what it's called? What is it, Amber?
I think it's Ask the Public.
Ask the Public. Askthepublic.com. Absolutely right.
It's fantastic. I love that website.
Yeah, you go on there, you type in the subject, and it will literally bring up the most prevalent questions that people on the internet answer the public. Answer the public. So you got 3 workouts to check out now if you're listening to three places you can go. But it's answerthepublic.com. I read a great book. They Ask You Answer. Really good book about how to steer your content in the right direction. But content is just like squats, right? It's just like repetitions of your pull-up. Like you only get good at it by doing it. So your first squat's not going to be awesome. It's probably going to suck pretty bad. If you got the wrong training, you probably get injured too. But that's a subject for another podcast. Seriously,
Can I say a few things?
Please say a lot of things.
So, look, taking initiative. We're all doing this right in the new year. Look at this, Carol.
Nice.
I want to talk about batch producing content because I think it's a great point, and I want to add a few things to it. I also want to tell the story of how Ignite the Fire, my first book, came to be.
Ooh, is it a travel story?
Because it's effectively your story. No, it's not a travel story. This was before I was traveling.
All right, okay.
But it's effectively you're like you just walk around with a notepad.
Right.
As a personal trainer, I had a clipboard. Remember what those are?
Yes.
Right.
And on my clipboard were my clients' workouts, right, for the next batch. If I was training 4 clients in a row beforehand, I prepare for them. I get all their programs and stuff like that on my clipboard. But on the back of my clipboard, I'd have a piece of paper. And on that piece of paper, as I was training clients, as I was navigating being a personal trainer, somebody come up to me, ask me a question in between clients. Somebody'd say, oh, I know somebody who, you should work with. My manager asked me a question, whatever it is. I just wrote down a quick note on that piece of paper on the back of my clipboard. And then I'd go home at night and I'd write down exactly what I did in that situation in more detail. That's literally Ignite the Fire.
Right.
Is that process. That's why and the reason why that book still to this day sells 15 to 20 copies a day, more across all platforms. And it's pirated probably 50, 100 times. But the reason why that book still sells well, like close to 10 years after it originally came out, is because it hits on the little in-between stuff, so targeted, the inner dialogues, all the little things that only somebody who is actively working day to day in that field would really get. But it really, really speaks to them. And you could never do that if you were to sit down in a room. Like if I were to sit down in a room at night and say, okay, I want to talk about how to be a good personal trainer. What's my table of contents? Right. You could never do that because there are so many things in that messy middle that you would just never think about that happen throughout the day. But because I had all of these notes. So I love that idea, Ren. When I walk around, when I'm in Toronto, I actually keep a little in my jacket pocket, in my breast pocket. I keep a little notebook as well, and I just write down notes because I don't want to go to my phone because that's a black hole of despair, and so
I fall into Instagram.
So I usually don't bring it with me, or I keep it off.
Oh, God.
Like I keep my phone off all day, every day here, right? So I have a little notebook, and I would just write down if I think about something, right? I write it down and then I'll review that every couple of days. So I love that idea, Ren, because not just because it's a good way to capture and organize and batch produce, but also it's a good way to capture ideas that are really, really important that come up that you wouldn't think about if you were actively trying to think about those things.
Right.
I think is really important. And that's the gold dust, right? The second note, I guess, just going further on batch production that I want to add here is batch producing is really, really great. The majority of the work with content is actually not producing the content. It's the post-production and publishing of the content. That actually is what trips most people up. How do you make this look good? How do you make this feel good? When do you post? What do you say when you post? Thinking about when to post. It's the amount of things that have to happen after you film that video is actually really, really long and stupidly annoying. And just and especially with all of these new social media platforms that come out. It's just, that's my biggest, this is my biggest qualm with it. It's not the content itself. It's the amount of beautiful, well thought out things that are not getting produced.
Right.
Because people feel like they need to create so much content all the time, when really a great product doesn't actually require a tremendous amount of content.
Absolutely.
But there are fewer and fewer great products that are getting produced because everybody immediately is like, oh, how do I get a bigger audience on Instagram? It's like, well, actually, if you build something great, you don't need a big audience on Instagram. And then a big audience on Instagram happens because you have something great. And so I think that's valuable, but when it comes to batch producing content, think about all of the steps. This is my process mind, right? And my laziness. Think about all of the steps that happen after you film that video.
Right.
Or even record like an audio message about something you want to talk about. Maybe that's a really good place to take your limited budget and pay somebody else.
Yep.
To do that post-production in the batch. Because then you could take an hour a week or an hour multiple times a week, rifle off an answer to 15 questions, give it to team for $250 a week, let's say. They will take your answers to the questions, they'll turn them into TikTok videos, they'll turn them into Instagram spots, they'll transcribe and write little captions out of them, and then they're the ones who are going to publish them on your social media. So all you got to do is basically what I'm doing right here on this podcast. All you got to do is show up for an hour a week. Talk about stuff that's interesting, perhaps with people you enjoy spending time with. And then you build the engine on the back end to take that and do stuff with it. Do stuff.
Right?
Because that doing stuff with it, if you actually think about it, and it would be interesting to see the feedback to this episode, but if you actually think about what stops people from producing content, my guess is that it's the doing stuff with it that stops people. It's not the actual production of the content. And so if you know that that's true, don't do the doing stuff with it. Like, that's really easy, right? That doesn't require.
Right.
So I love the batch producing, and I guess you're using this idea generation tool to be able to give you the idea for batch producing, right? You know, these you could literally put out a post on your Facebook and say, hey, what questions do you have about health and fitness? Or even go into communities and just look at questions that other people have asked, right?
100%.
Write a list of 10 of them and just rip out the answers to a VA, give it to somebody to do something with it, right?
Absolutely. You know, when I have coaches that I talk with, and we've got to go, so that's going to trigger the person that didn't like it when we said we had to go. I'm
double parked outside. I got to get going.
It just seems like you guys are double parked or something. That's such a strange commentary for a podcast. Like you listen to all the crap that we say for 40 minutes, and then what sets you off is the fact that we have to go. Like that's the biggest fault you're finding with what we're doing. Do you not hear the front half of the podcast?
Upset that this is ending?
Right?
You should be so enthusiastic about whatever you get to do now that this is over.
You should feel nothing but dopamine and serotonin when we say it's time to go, sir. I don't know how this is triggering you.
Yeah.
But in any case,
I've done my time. I'm walking out of you. I can see the sun. It's a new life for me now. I'm leaving that past life behind.
New dawn, a new day, and I'm feeling good, like the Weight Watchers commercial says. But Jonathan, you make a great point. When I see coaches that have issues with content, I know that they're not answering questions or not, at least not interacting with questions, because questions are. You got. I'm going to use an analogy. This will be my first analogy of the new year. So you've got the person that's eating on the run, right? You're making dinner as you're getting hungry. That's sort of creating the content on the go. Then you've got the person that's sort of meal planning, right? They're not actually preparing the meal, but they have some list of things that they're going to do. You've got the person that's doing meal prep, and that's probably, getting everything organized, choosing one day, preparing all your content. That's sort of where I am. And then you've got sort of like the food service, the pre-constructed meals that fit your macros already that you could outsource and buy. And that would be sort of producing some content and then giving it off to someone else to do the work, do the cooking for you. Let somebody else cook that content, fam. Cook it up for you so you don't have all you got to do is eat. Right? You got to eat.
How are you so good at analogies? I don't understand it. I don't get it. You're fantastic.
I think because no one around me growing up understood me. I think that's what it was. So I was like, so grandma, say you got a bunion on your left toe, and you can't bend down and get it. So I just had to find a clever way to explain things. So our overarching themes here as we close this out, because Amber's about to turn that hat backwards and say, yo, son, we out, B. Overarching theme, number one, know who you're talking to. We didn't talk about that today, but everything stems from the USP from your avatar. Let's start there. That you got to know that. Number two, know where your message is going. Keto gave us good insight as to where she posts versus where she doesn't post. So know where your message is going. Number three, figure out what your methodology for creating the content is. Like, are you a person that takes it all the way through? Are you a person that can only do so much and you've got a budget and you can outsource that? And then number four, I think we can all agree, you're going to have some type of consistency. In business in general, you're going to have some type of consistency, but you're not, even if you're saying the right thing to the right people in the right way, if it's super sporadic, you're not going to build much of a following. Like attention span on social media is shorter than Jonathan's when I talk on this podcast. What were we talking about again? What was the question? I'm sorry. What's the subject?
Somebody said my name. Somebody said my name. What?
Right. So it's short. It's shorter than that. It's shorter than that attention span. So in terms of your social media, you constantly have to say Jonathan, John. That's what you're doing. You need to be that consistent with your social media so that people pay attention to what's going on. And that's all I got. Are we wrapped, Amber? Is that the end of our first recording for this new year, for this exciting 2021?
That was it.
Oh man, it's so much magic already happening in 2021. I can barely stand it.
Yeah.
Keto was here.
New year, same podcast.
Yeah, same podcast.
How it is.
So we got show notes. Let me see if I can remember what show notes. I haven't said show notes since last year. Show notes can be found at onlinetrainer.com/podcast. So go do those, and don't forget to get us in that artwork of Keto and Jonathan as the Wonder Twins from Super Friends. We need that in our lives because Jonathan agreed off mic to change his profile picture once that happens. If not, the next 3 covers of his next 3 upcoming books. So any literature from here on out will have a picture of Jonathan represented as the one half of the Wonder Twins in water form. So let's get that out to the people. Jingle, jingle, jingle. This is the online trainer show, trainer show, trainer show. This is the online trainer show. We shouldn't have a podcast.